Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mummy and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Hey everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday, May 25th. We are glad to have all of you with us as we enter into this Memorial Day weekend. I think it's appropriate to start today by recognizing that the events yesterday in Texas are profound and they certainly impact all of us. And it's with heavy hearts that we are coming to you today to talk about the bar exam. And I think that sometimes in the midst of those moments, you may be thinking or feeling guilty about studying for the bar or thinking about the bar or even talking about the bar. And I want to acknowledge that's a perfectly reasonable emotion to have. And yet the reason that you're all here is because you want to become members of the bar and you want to make a difference in your own way, whatever that might be. And therefore, it is still a noble calling and you have to do your work. And I just want to acknowledge that as difficult as times like these are, we still are here to help change the world by having so many of you as members of the bar. I'm going to bring Megan in because I know that this is meaningful for you. You've got young children, and these are hard times for us as staff too, right?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to let everyone know, all of our students who are in Texas particularly, or who have connections to the area, that we're thinking of you and praying for you. Everybody who's got young children or is a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle, this is everybody, right? This touches everyone. And I know, I just want to echo what Jackson said, that it can feel frivolous maybe to study. It can feel really difficult. I know I had a lot of trouble concentrating on my work yesterday afternoon, and as we got the news here in California, and certainly today. And if that's you, if you're feeling like just it's hard to focus, we talk about this. It's sad, but it feels like we talk about this every time there is a tragedy, that really you can use the grief that you're feeling, the anger that you're feeling, the frustration, the despair, to channel that into your why, right? Why are you studying for the bar exam? Why do you want to be a lawyer? And it may not be anything directly related to this horrific shooting, but it probably is in some way to bring a little more justice to the world, to bring a little bit more fairness, a little bit more peace, to bring some voices into the conversation that have been shut out for a long time. So whatever your reason is for why you're working so hard to study, keep that at the forefront of your mind, I think, as we go through these next few weeks when it's raw, and give yourself the space to feel how you feel, but also don't let it discourage you from moving forward on the path that you're on to become a licensed attorney.
Yeah, and I just want to echo one part of this. I recognize that a lot of people are going to be feeling guilty studying right now, studying over a holiday weekend, studying instead of being with family. We don't want you to ignore your families. We don't want you to ignore the very real feelings that you may have. But I also want you to keep your eye on the long game here, which is that you can be more effective and do more as a member of the bar, to be perfectly candid, than you can outside the bar. And therefore, your job right now, if you're taking the exam in July, your job is to prepare for that exam. Now, that doesn't mean it's exclusive to everything else, but when you're studying for the exam, find that time and focus on that. And when you're with your family, when you're at your Memorial Day outings and events, be present in those moments as well. Towards that end, Sarah and I are going to actually take off this weekend. We're going to do what we call a digital detox. We're going to be away. We're turning off all of our devices. It's part of what we think of as being healthy at this period of time. And I would encourage all of you to think about that as well. June has been consistently telling me for years now how important it is to do that kind of a detox. And I think it's important, and I do it periodically. And so I'm going to be out for the weekend. June's going to be out for the weekend. Megan, I think we're leaving you to man the ship here. But it's important to set boundaries and to know what you can and can't do. And when you're at that moment where the boundaries are starting to blur and you can't figure out, should I be studying or with my family or something else, stop and refocus, right? You agree with that, Megan?
Yeah, definitely. We always talk about be 100% in what you're in. So if you're doing study time, try to make that as distraction free as possible. If you're spending time with family, be 100% in there. Don't be trying to get a little studying done in between. Make sure that you are focused and present in whatever it is that you're doing at that moment.
Yeah. One other thing I do want to say, it seems like a weird transition. Today represents the 400th episode of our webinars and podcasts. I started these 8 years ago, long before Megan was co-hosting and then June hosting. Kelly was with us for a few years as a host. And we've been through a lot of changes in those 8 years, a lot of changes in the country, a lot of changes in the bar. There's more ahead, to be sure. I am very thankful that over those 8 years, we have had hundreds of thousands of downloads of the podcast. I'm very appreciative that so many of you have been loyal listeners and loyal followers of our podcast. And I hope that we bring value to you every week when we do this. I could not do the work I do without Megan and June and many others who support what we're doing. And when I think back to 8 years ago, when I sat down to do the first podcast and had no idea even what a podcast was, it's pretty remarkable to me how far we've come. But I'm very grateful and very appreciative of everybody. So thank you, Megan. Thank you, June, who's on the chat box today.
Great. Thanks, Jackson. All right, let's turn now to the results. We've gotten the last batch in. So I don't have the stats for every single jurisdiction, but they have all been released in terms of the pass list. Our three smaller ones and then a big one. We've got Louisiana came in at 41%. Oregon at 68%. Go Oregon, by the way. That's definitely an outlier there. But
Never
always
thought I'd hear you say go Oregon as a USD alum, but okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Don't go Oregon athletics. How about let's go Oregon as a state? And Nevada, I just got their statistics in at 59%, although the results were released earlier. And then, of course, the big one this week that we have all been waiting for was Georgia. Georgia had a 50% pass rate. That was 77% of first-time takers who passed and 32% of repeaters. So, Jackson, what can we take away from the stats in Georgia?
One of the interesting things to me in Georgia was that they went away from the open book remote exams that we had last year and went to an in-person closed book exam. It didn't seem to make a dramatic change in the pass rates, which is something that we've been saying all along. Open book tests don't really change anything. The examiners are not testing what you can memorize and recite. For those people who feel like I should memorize a lot of law and then spit it all out, it really doesn't make much of a difference. And I think Georgia's a good test example of that. When they made open book, you didn't see the pass rates higher. And now when they went to closed book, we're still seeing that. Now, Georgia did a little better in repeat takers than some other states, but again, it's a smaller jurisdiction. I do think that the in-person exam worked in some people's favor. Definitely those jurisdictions that had performance tests. We saw that in a lot of jurisdictions where having the two MPTs, it was just easier to work with them on paper and pencil or paper and computer, I don't know, but to have the real book there than to do it online. So I think that's one interesting piece of the puzzle. The fact that there's a 77% first-time taker rate is a good sign, but certainly was a countervailing number when we look at what most of the country had, right? New York, California, Florida, Texas, they were not up in those kinds of rates for their first-time takers.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what really stood out to me with Georgia was that they had really good first-time taker pass rate, which unfortunately we just have not been seeing other places across the country. Also with Georgia, interesting to note, Jackson, that I hadn't even thought of it. They transitioned away from the open book test, and I believe their pass rate went up over 4 points. So yeah. I do think that really does lend credence again to the idea of it's not really do you have access to all the law piece that's preventing people from passing. It's really that analysis. So I know if you're one of my students, we've really been hammering this in the last few weeks, particularly, that you have just got to show your work. You have to show that analysis. It's just very clear, I think, when we have these sort of test cases of, okay, let's see what happens when you give open book and the pass rate's actually lower than when it's a closed book, because it's clearly not about did you memorize the law, and it is about your ability to apply the facts of the case to the law. So
Yeah, and our students in Georgia did very well. We've got some interviews lined up that we're going to record in the next couple of weeks, and I'll be anxious to share those with you. But it's the same trend. If I look at the entirety of the February 2022 exam season, our students did well. We beat the repeat taker pass rate everywhere, and that is our primary market. So that's the number I'm mostly looking at. And we did it in some cases by people blowing way past the passing score, and they didn't just eke over, they killed it. And what I see consistently are people that engaged in the coaching, that were part of the group coaching calls, that did the personal writing workshop with Megan, that did Calming the Chaos with June, that had the writing coaching with Megan or with me. Those people did better than the ones that did not. Now, I'm not saying you can't pass the exam with our basic course. We have plenty of people that did that. But look, if you're struggling with the exam, if you're a multiple repeat bar taker, please get the help. And if you can't afford the help, although I think we make it very affordable, but if you can't get it right now, sit out an exam and keep studying and then add those pieces and resources. They really make a difference. That's why we offer them. It's not because they make us profitable or make us rich. That's not our purpose, but they change the results. And so I just think sometimes people are penny wise and pound foolish here. They invest all the time and energy, but then they don't put all the tools in their toolbox, and they come up short over and over again. There is a point, I think, where you have to acknowledge that you just need to do something more and something different. And that's what my video messages to students are when they send me their scores when they're in that situation. I know you feel pretty strongly about this too, Megan, that students really have to take advantage of these tools in this environment.
Yeah, it's just these repeat taker numbers are just so bad everywhere, literally everywhere. And so if you're a repeat taker, which is most of the people that we work with, I just think it is doing yourself a disservice to not put 110% of your effort into it. Whatever that looks like for you, right? Whatever you need help with, seek out that help. Let us know how we can help you with that. And that's why we try to offer a variety of things as part of the course and then extra add-ons as well, so that we can help meet you where you are, because you're an individual and everybody doesn't have the same needs. But that's also what I love about coaching. Individual coaching is, right, I have one student who needs to go through all the essays with me. I have another student who's like just bought an hour of coaching because they're like, I want to go through I have several students who just want to go through their all February results. So I haven't worked with them and they're like, I just want to talk through with somebody. Here's my essays. How did I do? Why did I get the scores that I got? How can I improve? So we're really trying to work very hard to make sure that we're meeting you wherever you are. So please let us know how we can do that, because we really want to, genuinely.
Yeah, and it's why we offer everything from time management coaching to mindset coaching to different webinars and seminars.
Wonderful. All right, Jackson, would you like to talk, now that we finally can, about the UBE essay subjects? So we can finally,
Yes.
we've got everything in and we can chat about what was actually on the test for the UBE takers.
Yeah, now we've known this information for quite a while, but to backtrack, the National Conference of Bar Examiners under our license will not allow us to discuss it publicly until they release the questions out. And that happened yesterday, I think it was. We were pretty sure it would happen as soon as Georgia released, and that was the case. So we're going to talk about very briefly the 6 essays and 2 performance tests. This is mostly just to give you a sense. And before the July exams, I will do a video for the UBE students in which I will go through those 6 essays and 2 performance tests, talk about them in much more detail, and then give you some sense of where I think the exam is going. Those are ubiquitously known as my preview videos, but you know how much I hate that word. All right, now having said that, in the February 2022 exam, essay number 1 was a secured transactions question. When we look at scores, we see them from a variety of jurisdictions, and we're able to normalize and figure out on that 1 to 6 scale, where do those questions fall in? Was one question harder than another? What I will tell you is that this particular exam did not have an outlier. That is, there was no one particular question that fell dramatically below 3 as an average score, nor was there one that was dramatically above 3. They were all in a very narrow range. That is unusual, but I think it signals that the examiners are trying to keep this exam straightforward. So secure transactions was essay number 1. Essay number 2 was crim law and procedure. and it had a little bit of both. And again, it was a pretty straightforward question, and the scoring was pretty normalized, and I didn't see a big jump anywhere there. Question 3 was corporations, which I thought was interesting that they gave that subject, because question 4 was agency, right? Now, that's a bit of a surprise, isn't it, Megan, that you would have corporations and agency in the same exam?
Yeah, very interesting. But like you said, they made it just a very sort of middle of the road type of exam. I guess it worked for them.
Yeah, I think it did. The corporations question got a slightly higher median score than the agency question. That doesn't surprise me. Agency wouldn't have been something you've been looking for necessarily on the exam. That was a bit tougher for people. The essay that had the normalized score was trusts, and that's no surprise. Trust continues to be a challenging topic for people. Now, as I recall, Megan, you and I did some work on trust in one of our deep dives.
Oh, yeah, we did. Gosh, you know what? I block it out because that is not one of my favorite subjects. I have to be honest.
We talked about some tough subjects. I think that's one of them. And while that's not a UB or not a multi-state subject, trust can be challenging. We've talked about that. That was a difficult question for people. It was the most difficult. And then they finished up with the 6th essay, which was a generic contracts question, not terribly difficult, got a relatively high score. Those were the 6 topics. There were no crossovers. I thought that was interesting. We have had typically 1, maybe 2 questions in the past that had multiple subjects in them. The closest we came to that was Crim Law, Crim Pro, but really all in Crim. So nothing crossover. I would have thought maybe corporations and agency together would have been an essay, but they didn't. They separated them out. So those are the 6 essay questions. And again, pretty straightforward and not a big surprise. In terms of the 2 performance tests, absolutely no surprises here. We had 2 performance tests. The first was a test to a legal audience, an objective task, a memo. And then in the second task, the second performance test, it was again to a legal audience, and it was persuasive. This is the normal structure, right, for performance tests. Primarily to legal audiences, typically 1 objective, 1 persuasive, and no surprises there really to me at all. The performance tests were given in Georgia as well as the UBE, and of course, California does their own unique performance test, and there are no performance tests in Florida. So that's where we were on the UBE. As I said, I will do a video prior to the July exam where I go into more depth. And as we're now just seeing the questions, now we're able to look at the answers that people got back in different jurisdictions. So as Megan said, if you're in the coaching program, one of your coaching calls certainly could be going through your essays or performance tests from that exam. We do have questions from the February 2022 exams in Florida. We do not have them, I don't think, in Georgia or California yet. Am I correct about that, Megan?
We do have California, yes.
We do. Okay, there you go. So we do have them. At the end here, it all moves fast. And then so we're trying to keep up. I know Megan and her staff keep putting things out. You will see those updates in your course platform. And it's always a good idea in the course platform, under the very first segment, it says updates. Go to that update page and you'll see them listed, any changes that we've made to your course. So just scroll down to the bottom of that list and you'll see any changes.
Great. And Nicole in the chat box asked, will there be a similar discussion like you're doing with the UBE about the essays from the Florida exam?
Yes, absolutely. We'll do it there. We'll also do it in Georgia. So that is our normal process. And just so you all know, I do them around the 10th of July. So don't ask for them on July 4th. They won't happen. I try to keep them until the very end because I don't want you going too far one direction or the other in case I'm not as accurate as I historically have been, but things can change and I don't want you studying the wrong stuff.
Great. All right, let's jump into some questions that we have. Not too many this week. I actually really love this because I feel like people are like studying and they're on their way and they're feeling good and confident. As always, if any of you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box as well. And then when we're done with the questions, we've got a couple of fun things that we're going to talk about today. All right, first up is, I know this is way late, but I'm wondering if Megan is still taking on essay students and what does her program cost? First, not way late. You're good. It is May 25th right now. And if you are thinking about adding coaching, adding writing workshop, adding hourly coaching with Jackson or myself, you're not too late. Definitely. I think that's a huge myth with bar studies is that there's some sort of like magical cutoff date. And if you haven't started by then, got to wait until the next go around. So definitely not the case. You have plenty of time. If you're starting your studies now, welcome. We're happy to have. So I'm not sure, Jackson, I don't know if this student. Oh, go ahead.
Megan and I have been doing this. Megan's been doing this now. What are we on? 11 years or something for you, and 35 for me. We're pretty good at managing our schedules. We block off time to be able to accommodate, and we know when the surge comes in of people. Don't misunderstand. We've got space and we're here. We're ready. We're waiting for you. You shouldn't wait because it's good for you to get started now. But trust me when I tell you that we know how to control the schedule and there's plenty of time.
Great. So I don't know if this student was talking about essay writing workshop or mentoring, but basically you're not too late for either. The personal writing workshop is $297, and that's for 2 calls with me. One where we will talk in really concrete detail about how to write essays. And then the second one where you will send me an assignment that I will give to you. And then we will discuss it and figure out where you need to go moving forward. And then the personal mentoring is 12 calls with me. And there's a monthly option, or there's a discount if you pay in full. Talk to June, email June if you have any questions about that or about mentoring with Jackson or anything else we can help you with there.
Yeah, and you can also find all of those links in your online course platform. They're in the very first unit. It says upgrade to personal coaching. You'll see all of those right there.
Okay, great. All right, next we have a student who said they're at 29% completion, but are feeling really behind and beating themselves up quite a bit. Jackson, should somebody be feeling like 29%, like they're in a rough spot right now?
No, that's actually really pretty good. I think that if you've been studying for a while and you're in that roughly 30% range, plus or minus a few, you're doing just fine. Now, if you just got your course, we have people signing up today. You're going to be at 0. That's fine. It's all a matter, you're on your own journey, and it just depends on how many hours you're putting in. You will be getting regular weekly emails from me for still a few more weeks, and then daily emails when we get into 30 days before the exam. And I will benchmark for you as we go along where I think you should be depending on when you began. If you've been studying for 6 months or a year, then yes, you should be at 30%. If you've been studying for a week, no, you should be at 5%. Let's be honest about it. The course in general will take most people about 300 hours, 250 to 300 hours to complete. So you can pretty much figure out where you are and what you have to do moving forward. But as I often say, the best way to schedule yourself is in 7-day increments. Don't try to schedule yourself from here until the exam. There's no point in doing that. What I would do is look at the next week and say, how many hours do I want or need to study in the next week? Also recognizing that we've got a holiday weekend coming up, which might mean that you would lose some time perhaps over the weekend, but maybe you gain Friday or Monday or both because you're not at work. And so as you think about that, plan your schedule and add some extra study time if you've got it. Now, this is not licensed to say to your family, sorry, I'm not going on the Memorial Day picnic with you because I've got to study all day. To our point earlier today, you really want to be balanced about this, but don't obsess about where you are as a percentage of the course unless you know that you're at 5% and you're putting in 10 hours a week. Then that's not going to get you there for the July exam. So in that case, that's a good time to reach out to us or in the community group and post, or join a group call and talk about it there. And we can give you some suggestions. And finally, if you're really stuck and you're really struggling with your time management, sign up for the time management workshop with Brianna. She will sit down with you one-on-one for 30 minutes, and I promise you she'll hammer out a schedule and you'll be on track. That's what that is all about. It works really well, and I would encourage you to do it. So lots of possibilities there, but don't obsess about that number, that percentage number. It's a benchmark and nothing more.
Yeah. I think no matter what, no matter where you are, I never want to hear somebody saying, I'm beating myself up over what I'm doing. I'm really disappointed with myself. I'm really mad at myself. That's just, I know if you talk to June, you'll know that is language that we just do not want coming out of your mouth. We don't want you typing it. We don't want you thinking it. Please have grace for yourself. Be kind to yourself. The only way you're going to make it through this process is if you're kind to yourself. So please talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who is doing this, right? If you had a friend and they were studying for the bar exam and they weren't as far along as they had planned or you think they should be, you certainly would not be saying those sorts of things to them. So please don't say it to yourself, okay? It's never too late to get on track, right? If the best day to started was yesterday, the second best day is today. Wherever you are now is the best day for you to start this. So go ahead and do it and commit, and don't put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect. That's not possible. All right, real quick, June wrote in the chat box, there's a correction. Brianna is not doing her call tonight. And she said, a good note, please always go by the events in the community group, because that's correct. So definitely you can check on the community group always to see if there's been any changes. So thanks, June, for checking on that. All right. And then Marva asks, where do we find the interview with Amanda?
You can find it on YouTube, and you can find it in the community group. We've posted it. I think if you just do a search for Amanda's name in the community group, you'll probably find it. And worst case, you can send an email to June and she can give you the link. It's in a couple different places.
Great. Okay, next question. This one less about the actual substance of the question and more about what is this, the bigger implications of it. So we have somebody who asked about if anybody had heard of the Doctrine of Twins. I was told recently XYZ. I haven't been able to find it or anything fitting that description anywhere though. And Jackson, first, is there such a thing as the Doctrine of Twins? And then second, what's the big takeaway, I think, from questions like this?
Yeah, there's no such thing. I think it's a term that probably a professor has used and somebody got wind of it and thought it was clever and decided to do something with it. There is no legal doctrine. I think if you Googled it, you'd find that. I think the bigger question here is this sense of FOMO, or hearing rumors or reading stuff on Reddit or Twitter or wherever and saying, oh my God, I'm missing out on something. Don't worry about it. This course has you fully covered. We've been doing this, our predecessor course, between them and us, we've been doing it for over 50 years. We know what the law is. We know what the rules are. Our materials are current and they're correct. If you don't find it in our materials, it's because it's not testable. We do all of our work based on the outlines that the examiners give us and the subjects that they give us, and we stay very current with all of that, as Megan could tell you. She and her editors work to make sure we're current on all of that. Now, I want to thank that student for posting that, because it's important to get that stuff out there and to say it. So don't ever hesitate to say, I'm worried about or I'm concerned about. I think the bigger question is just don't obsess about it or be too terribly concerned about it. If you don't see it in our materials, it's because in 50 years it hasn't been tested. And so it's not something you probably have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's really hard, right? Because there's so much, and obviously the entire legal field is just, libraries and libraries worth of documents on it. And it's not possible for the examiners to test everything. Thank goodness they don't test everything, even within a subject. And so we really try to, Jackson and I have these conversations, right? When Supreme Court cases come down, sometimes I'll ask him, gosh, what do you think? Do you think this is going to, fall into the testable material? And sometimes I wrestle with it for a while and come to a place of thinking, you know what, this doesn't seem to fit neatly into any of the categories that they're giving. So even though this is true and it's law that's on the books, it's not anything you need to worry about for the exam. Just trust that we really are having these conversations in the background. This is something that I deal with literally year round. I'm constantly checking, making sure we're updating everything. And yeah, don't stress if you find something or hear of something. It may be a true doctrine, but maybe not testable on the exam. Or in this case, it's just a nice, I think probably like analogy that someone came up with, which is great, but also not testable. So good question. Okay. All right. Next, just one last question, kind of comment that someone had, I think similar, this sort of bubbling up of this anxiety, right? So this person said, it's just taking me so much time to read the first half of the outlines as directed to in the study guide. And I feel like I'm wasting valuable time. I tried my best this morning to engage with the outline and mark it up, but I'm thinking about purchasing photo reading in order to stay on track and to calm my anxiety. What do you think, Jackson? Is that a good strategy? And are there any other strategies that you would give to people if they're feeling that anxiety as starting their studies now, going through a lot of material in short amounts of time? What can people do?
Yeah, I think anybody that knows me knows that I'm going to say photo reading is the right thing to do. I just finished a weekend seminar with Paul Sheely, the creator of photo reading. It was interesting. He was talking to an international audience and he name checked me and Celebration Bar Review as being the absolute leaders in utilizing photo reading for high stakes testing. And that was really a very nice compliment from him. We know that photo reading will help you get through the material much faster and to have higher comprehension. And the reason is because the way you read things visually in the conscious brain is so different than the way you absorb them and understand them non-consciously. So I think that's an absolute tool. It will take you 1 hour a day for 8 days while you're studying for the bar to master photo reading. So it's not going to slow you down at all. Now, if for whatever reason you decide you don't want to photo read, then the next best option is to literally just skim the material. And this is really photo reading light. It's an ability, it's still putting the material in your non-conscious, but now you're not going quite as fast as you would with photo reading, but you're still getting it into the non-conscious, and then using mind maps. And we're going to show you today how to literally create a mind map in just a couple of minutes. Using that tool will help you engage with the written material the most effectively. And then you're going to be doing the lectures, and then you're going to be doing the question practice. It is a buffet that you can come back through multiple times. You don't have to get it all in the first try. So don't stress about that part of it. I think people get overwhelmed, don't you, Megan, at the beginning? It seems like too much material, too much to handle, and they just shut down. Just do a little bit at a time and stay within the time frames we're giving you. Even if you're not a photo reader, the time frame we've given you to read an outline requires you to go fast and not slow. And if you're a photo reader, it's really fast. So stay in those time lanes and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's bring June back on. And Jackson, we have a really exciting announcement. I'm like super, super pumped about it. So Jackson, would you like to share with everybody what's happening later this year?
Yeah, we're very excited. 3 years ago, we did our last live boot camp for the bar. And it was fabulous. And we had June there and Megan there and a ton of people. And it was a great experience. And then this thing, COVID, came along and it shut us down. And we have been debating internally about, is it time to bring back boot camp? And if so, how are we going to do it? And so I am very pleased to announce today that we are in fact scheduling a live boot camp here in Celebration, Florida on October 14th and 15th. I want to show you where you can find the details and a little bit on our website. If you scroll down the page a little bit, you're going to see something that says live boot camp. And when you click on live boot camp, it's going to take you to this page and it's going to explain a little bit about it. And we are doing it a little bit differently than we've done in the past. What we're going to do this time is June's going to be here to do mindset coaching. Megan's going to do writing workshops, and I'm going to be doing photo reading, and we're all going to be talking about mind maps and some other pieces. And we're limiting this to 15 students. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is we want to give you personal attention, and we just know nothing matches that. And then the second reason is, of course, we want to be socially distanced. So we're going to do it that way. Now, on this page, what we've done is to set up a two-part system. We're going to take 15 students as all, and we're going to ask you to make a deposit. When you click on place your deposit, you're going to have the opportunity to name the amount of deposit that you want to make. Boot camp will be priced at $3,000, but we have an early bird pricing of $2,000. So you make your initial deposit, $250 or more, and then you don't have to pay anything until September 10th of 2022. On September 10th, you'll have to pay whatever your balance is. If you don't, then you're out. We'll refund your deposit, but you lose your spot. That's the easy part of it. What we're going to include will be everything except your transportation and hotel. So we're going to handle meals on Friday and Saturday. It's a Friday-Saturday event. And we're going to do a special dinner on Friday night, and it's all at the beautiful Artisan Club here in Celebration. I wanted to show you the schedule because it's really different than what we've done before. Megan, you want to talk a little bit about what makes this different in terms of scheduling?
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to be doing these small breakout sessions. So everyone will be split up into a group of maximum 5 people. And that small group will spend an hour and a half with Jackson, an hour and a half with me, and an hour and a half with June. So everyone will get to go to all 3 of us. I'm really excited. I know my students know that I often lament the fact that I can't just sit there and watch them write an essay, or I can't see their actual process in person. And that's one of my favorite parts about boot camp was that I really felt like, oh, I can sit there and see what you're actually doing and figure out how to help you change what needs to be changed. And so I'm so excited the thought of being able to spend an hour on top of all the rest of it, to be able to spend an hour and a half really diving deep with just 5 people in person, all of us together, being able to talk about this. And then I know June, if you want to share about what's your little breakout session going to be, it's so great.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. So as Megan said, it's always so much fun in person. You really can help a lot more. You can tell a lot more. And it's just a really great way to connect. And so I'm super excited. My breakout session, we're going to dive deep into mindset and what you should be doing to prepare for the bar exam and how to get yourself ready with your mindset so that nothing shakes you on bar exam day. So you are safely in your bar exam bubble and ready to knock it out.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I want to talk a little bit about photo reading. If you're a photo reader, we want you to come and I'm going to teach you photo reading and I'm going to go deeper. If you've never photo read, I will teach you how to photo read in 3 hours. Now, I've just been through this training with Paul Shealy, as I said, and I got to tell you, he's a fabulous teacher. He created photo reading. I'm pretty darn good. I think I can teach it to you in 3 hours. In fact, I know I can, and show you how to use it. So regardless of where you are in photo reading, we're going to give that to you because we think it's a really important tool. So you don't have to have purchased photo reading before you come. If you have purchased it, we're going to help you go deeper. And then on Saturday morning, we're going to really do a deep dive on mind maps and studying. I'm really excited about this because Megan and I have been working on mind maps for a long time. And in fact, I talked to Millicent St. Clair from Learning Strategies this weekend, who actually helped us bring mind maps into the bar review study. What was it, Megan, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, some crazy time. I mean, it was a long time back. And so she was really excited to hear what we're doing there as well. So 2 days, there's a beautiful hotel down in Celebration, but there's plenty of other places. And again, the early bird pricing is $2,000 and it includes everything except travel, lodging. And if you want to buy your own photo reading course, you can do that. And all you have to do is click on this to place your deposit. The deposits and fees are fully refundable up until September 10th. After that date, no refunds and the pricing will go up. So if you are taking the bar exam in 2023, you should be at boot camp. And again, only 15 people get to participate. So put in your deposit, hold your seat. Once we get to 15, we'll put everybody else on the wait list and we'll see what happens then. So I'm really excited about this. I think that goes without saying. We think this is an absolutely fabulous opportunity. If you want to hear about boot camp, there's a video on this page you can watch that will give you stories of people from boot camp. And the great thing, Megan and June, is how many of those people pass the bar, right? It's exciting to see.
Yes. Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. We're really excited on our 400th episode to be able to tell you about that. And I hope that everybody joins us for boot camp. We can't wait to see you live and in person here in beautiful Celebration, which, if you don't know, is right outside of Orlando. So easy to travel to. And it's a Friday, Saturday. That's the deal. You guys like it? I hope in the chat box we're getting some yays and way to go, but we are thrilled to have everybody participate. So that's where you can find the news. And be on our website, look for live boot camp, and we'll be sending out emails about it as well.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a really good holiday weekend. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
June's like, everybody have a great and safe weekend. Do your best, hang in there, and we will see you again next Wednesday. So have a great week and a great weekend. We'll see you all next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.